they lose, and this is social media, YouTube, TV, whatever it is. Like, we become so desensitized to the fact that, like, yeah, you're seeing a very, very small snippet of that individual, and you don't see what it takes to play at that level. And so then when they do play bad and they make a mistake or they throw an interception or they drop a ball, whatever it is, like, all that we think as fans is, oh my gosh, you had one job.
Southwest Florida is one of the most beautiful places on the planet to live. For those of you that are thinking of moving from other states to come to Florida, or even just moving to a different part of the state, I want you to think of a big, beautiful luxury home. Contact Legacy Luxury Builders. They are a family-owned and operated luxury residential construction company. As a family-owned business, they believe in the power of building not just homes, but legacies. Contact Legacy Luxury Builders. The nightmare of feeling like you'll never measure up, of constant second guessing and self-doubt. It eats away at you and destroys your confidence. I've been there too, feeling like I didn't belong on the field with my teammates, but it doesn't have to stay that way. I used to compare myself to everyone around me. I thought that no matter how hard I worked, I'd never be as good as the other guys. It killed my self-belief. I now help athletes develop an elite mindset so comparison no longer controls them. We teach techniques to cut out the negative self-talk and unlock their full potential. Imagine stepping into the box when it counts the most and feeling totally confident in your ability, feeling invincible instead of insecure, ready to seize the opportunity instead of shrinking from it. That's the mindset I help athletes develop. Don't waste another minute on comparison and self-doubt. Take control of your mindset and become the confident, unstoppable competitor you are meant to be. DM or comment below to get started with Edge and transform your mental game. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Determined Society. Super excited to have this guest on today. But before we get to today's guest, I want you guys, if you've never listened to the show before, I want you to hit pause. I have to say this. Go hit subscribe to the show and binge some of the episodes because I want you to understand what you're about to get into. It's going to be your favorite podcast ever. So tonight I have with me a great friend. He is the assistant director of sales at First Form. His name is TJ LaFaver. Let me tell you guys, he is a former quarterback at Missouri Western State University. He is, like I said, at First Form now. Amazing individual, gives a shit about people. And here's an interesting fact about him that I did not know. He's also worked at 2 Division I colleges, one of which was the University of Alabama. And, for me, guys, as an LSU guy, I'm like, what the hell is this? I can't believe I'm about to have this guy on my show. But without further ado, TJ, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, Sean, first and foremost, I want to say thank you. And because this is probably going to be the only opportunity that I have to squeeze this in, I'm going to have to roll tied in.
Oh my God, on my show, my poor show. I feel like someone just defecated on my rug. That's what I feel like. It's just like, that dog that just looks at you. Oh, shit on your carpet. That's what you just did.
I get it. I mean, you have every right to be bitter about how everything played out. But
yes, I do.
But in all seriousness, I do want to say thank you for having me. What you're doing here on the Determined Society is really, really cool, especially just for the athletes, because I think, there's plenty of business advice out there, and you do have some people out there that are speaking directly to athletes. You have the Tim Grovers of the world and Ben Newman, and people like that are doing some incredible things. But I think it's really, really important. As a former athlete myself, it's sometimes it's hard to take some of those business-esque type of lessons and really apply them to sports, even though they do absolutely parallel. I think sometimes, though, it does take a little bit of extra effort to be able to correlate the two. And so the fact that what you're doing and taking it and making it specifically with athletes, and then obviously what you're doing personally off the show with athletes is really, really powerful. And so I just appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Dude, I appreciate you, man, and thank you. I received that, and it's much appreciated coming from someone like you. It's funny because it didn't start. It's so funny when people say, hey, you love what you're doing with athletes and all the entrepreneurs and everything like that. It's crazy because it started with my business plan around athletes, and then I'm like, I'm gonna stray away from that. I'm gonna go to entrepreneurs. But it's really funny, man, when people ask me, why didn't you start talking to athletes sooner? Right? Because I had some I had Anthony Trucks, who was a former NFL player. Ryan Terrio was a 2-time, World Series champion in the major leagues. I played with them at LSU, and I had some of those guys on there, right? But it was so funny because I'm looking at it, I'm like, damn, you're right. Why didn't I start doing this sooner? This is who I am. And since I've done it, my show has gotten better, I think. And I know that because I'm looking at the numbers and the analytics. Like more people are listening more consistently. The reviews are coming in. I'm just grateful for it. But look, man, athletes need so much, right? And I think more now than they ever have. I mean, back when I played in 2001 to 2003 at the Louisiana State University, go Tigers. That's my shout back, guys. I clap back at them, man. So, um, you know, there was no social media. There was pressure from the real media, right? Hey, what's it looking like to win a national championship this year? All that kind of stuff. But I think the real pressure nowadays is these athletes being so accessible. Like they're celebrities now, dude. It blows my fucking mind.
Yeah, and I think especially speaking to your experience, in the early 2000s, you had the pressure, but you always knew when it was coming. For most situations, right?
Yeah.
It was going to
Mm-hmm.
be a
Mm-hmm.
press conference after the game, or it was going to be the Monday press conference or the Wednesday press conference. It was you kind of could prepare, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the athletes now with social media, and then you throw NIL into it, and all of these different things. It's just like anytime, especially they play at Power Five schools like LSU or Alabama or any of these big time schools. I mean, you could flip on ESPN and find out like I didn't know that was going out around about,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or open up their
Yeah.
DMs on Instagram, and you've got either Alabama fans sending things to LSU players or vice versa or whatever it is, and just the vitriol, honestly, at times that people have to
Yeah.
deal with, and just the hate. I think that there's, again, like you said, athletes have always needed a lot, but I think now even more, they need constant support on how to even sift through not only that, but then also get better and perform at an even higher level because it's becoming,
Yeah.
anytime more money gets associated with things, then the pressure is going to get raised even higher. And so I mean, college athletes, especially, again, and this is to be of no disrespect to not maybe the major sports, because I think that's one thing that does commonly get overlooked is that if you play
Mm-hmm.
basketball, if you don't play football or baseball, like the big sports, that it's like you're somehow less than. It's like, no, one, I'm married to a former college softball player. I will tell you, I personally think that the athletes that don't play in the big sports actually work harder,
They
uh,
do. Yeah.
but when you take into account the quote unquote the business side or the bigger sports that come into the business, like the it's only getting worse every single year and more challenging, in the mental support that they need, and just a good person that they know is actually in their corner and isn't actually just concerned with making something off of them, it's very,
Mm-hmm.
very necessary.
Dude, spot on, man. Spot on. We're gonna get into some stuff tonight. And I want the audience to sit back and relax and just understand they're gonna hear another amazing conversation. They can already see the synergy going back and forth. But I want to have a little fun first. I want to have a little fun
I'm
first
down.
tonight. So
I'm always down.
I did some digging. I did some digging. It wasn't that much digging, but I went to, of course, I Googled your name and I went to Missouri Western State University. Got some things I want to talk to you about.
Okay, here
Okay.
we go.
This is fucking weird to me. One of maybe two out of the three I get. But like one I'm perplexed by. The one I understand is your favorite food was fettuccine alfredo. Is it still fettuccine
No,
alfredo?
I would have to say I'm more. I definitely have probably leaned more towards red meat and just a really good
Oh, I love it,
fillet
dude.
now.
Yeah. But back then, college, my watch is talking to me. Back then, right? It's like you don't really know.
Well,
You
I
know
also
what I'm
couldn't
saying? It's
afford a
like,
fillet back then.
yeah, no shit, right? I remember I used to eat like this was my nutrition plan. All right. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd go to weights, I'd come home, and then I would do like 12 egg
Yep.
whites. And I would put a bunch of Splenda in it and a bunch of cinnamon. And I'd have cinnamon and sugar egg whites, and I just crush it. 2 hours later, I would have a whole cup of cottage cheese, a whole cup of vanilla fat-free yogurt, um, grape nuts on it, and sugar-free syrup. And dude, and then when that would settle, I would go run 7 miles.
Yep.
And yeah, those days are over now. Who wants to run 7 miles anymore?
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, but
Not a thing.
yeah, but like, dude, like I ate stuff like that, and it was just like the chicken on the Foreman grill, And then my wife said something the other day. She goes, "Hey, we should get one of those, those Foreman girls." I go, "What fucking year is it? I'm not getting that shit." Like, ew, gross. But I'm like, wow, I used to live
Oh,
like that. And the
oh,
seasoning would turn toxic. It would smell so bad.
oh yeah, no, I would. So one of my there was one summer that because at Division 2, like one, we were required, during the school year, like you couldn't really have a job, right? Because of
Of course.
weights and practice and meetings and all of those things. But we also, we didn't really get any additional support outside of that, and I'm sure you had this experience as well in some capacity. Those 3 months of the summer was basically when I could make my money to live for the rest of the
Mhm.
year because I don't come from a lot. I grew up in a single slab, 700 square foot house that my dad built on top of an old mechanic shop that we knocked down.
That's awesome.
So I didn't have a lot. I never needed for anything, but I wanted for a
Mhm.
lot of things. But I didn't. It wasn't like I called home and dad sent me, 5 grand.
Yeah.
So my quarterback friend and I, we would work at a warehouse from 4 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we had a morning weights or an evening weights. So obviously morning weights was out, and so we would do evening weights at 5:30. We would come home, okay, and I would eat 2 hot dogs with 2 packets of ramen and drink a muscle milk and
Yeah.
try to take a nap and then go to weights. And then I was, going home, eating the same thing again, and then going to bed and then getting up and doing it all over again. So I've had
God.
my college, nutrition plan before as well. And that's also why fettuccine alfredo was on there because I could buy cheap chicken breast or cheap bulk chicken thighs. Pasta was cheap, and I'd buy the great value fettuccine alfredo sauce and just throw it on top of there.
Walmart, baby. Walmart
Yep.
Alfredo. I love it. All right. So the next one is, this is a good movie. Pursuit of Happiness was your favorite movie back then.
Yep.
Is it still one of your top movies, or what has replaced it?
Oh man, it's a tough question. Honestly, recently I've really enjoyed Maverick probably the most.
So fucking
Yeah,
good,
like
dude. Oh, dude, that movie in the theater. You see it in
oh
IMAX?
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
ridiculous.
And so that, and I wouldn't say it was any specific purpose Maverick. It's just it just
Mhm.
really gripped me.
Oh, it was dope.
Pursuit of Happiness, it was more the lesson throughout the whole thing of
Yeah.
no matter what, your back's against the wall, you just keep fighting and you can make anything happen. So yeah, I would say it's Maverick. So no real specific reason for that, but man, that movie was really hit me.
I've seen that movie multiple times. You don't need a specific reason. Right. You know, it's that good of a movie. Audience is like, what the fuck is going on right now? And so this one though, I have an issue with.
Okay,
Do you know where I'm going with
no, I
this?
have no idea.
You don't remember your bio, do
No,
you?
absolutely,
No. Three Musketeers is your favorite fucking candy
that
bar?
still stands true.
That's horse shit.
I'm telling you, I don't know what it is, but that still stands true to this.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't really know how to explain it either, other than the fact
You know what's better than that?
what.
A level one peanut butter and pretzel.
Okay, I will give you that. Okay, I will agree with that. Okay, but I wouldn't consider that candy, right? Like
It kind of tastes like it
I
though.
mean, I will give you that 1,000%. It tastes incredible. Like I tell people, it tastes like candy bars just got 20 grams of protein.
Yeah.
But the thing that's about Three Musketeers is not only do I love the flavor, is I can eat a ton of them and they don't sit super heavy.
Really? Oh, because they're so light and
That's
fluffy.
because it's all
Interesting. So what you're saying is you can binge them and not feel like shit.
correct. That's the key.
I love it, dude. Thank you for that. I was looking around. I'm like, dude, these are actually really cool, fun things that we can get started with.
Yeah.
But dude, so for those individuals that are listening to the show, they don't know your story, man. You work at one of the coolest places on the planet, right? You guys work your ass off there, right? You work hard and you play hard, and there's a lot of community there and a lot of brotherhood and sisterhood. You guys are family,
We take that
right?
very seriously. That's not a joke when we
One
say that.
No, it's not. Like I know enough of y'all. Like it is 100%. Chaz McDonald's a good buddy of mine. Like this is something that is true to the game at first form. But that you didn't start there. You were a quarterback at a Division 2 school. Tell everybody about your career because you're a lot like me. Your career ended because of an injury, and so tell everybody about that. But most importantly, I really want to start touching on with your story because there's athletes that are listening and people that are listening that can really get a lot out of the fact that what happens post athletics, right? How do you transition into your life? Because I was a mess, dude. So yeah, you have the floor now, buddy.
Which I appreciate that, and it certainly it always gets darker before it's lighter. The darkest comes before the dawn. But
Mhm.
really, to kind of dive into the story, like I brought up earlier, I grew up in a very small town. Our athletics was not good. We had 1 year, my sophomore year, we made it state. It was the first time in school history. But we had coaching change after that, and then we went 1-9 my junior year and 3-7 my senior year. So I had to really hustle to even get any attention from any colleges at all, which is and
Mhm.
just another kind of side piece of advice of like, hey, if your name isn't out there, it doesn't mean that it can't be out there. You're just going to have to put a little bit of extra work into it.
Mhm.
But was fortunate enough to between my academics and my athletics get a full ride scholarship to Missouri Western. Was really excited to go there, and go through all that. I redshirted my first season because I think coming in at 170 pounds soaking wet, and so I had to put
Woo.
some weight on. But I was they recruited two quarterbacks in the same class because they had a redshirt senior quarterback and not really anybody else in between. So they had to have not only a starter but then also a backup,
Mhm.
and was fortunate enough to win the starting position in that competition, and started my very first game as a redshirt freshman. And about I would say 3/4 of the way through the first quarter, got a hellacious hit on the sideline, and that's where I got my first concussion at the college level. But as any athlete, and I'm not advising somebody to do this, but this is just what I did: is I got my bell rung, I'm good,
Yeah.
and I threw, I think, three interceptions after that,
Yeah.
and just had an absolutely awful first game. You know, and
Wow.
that was really, I would say, talking about the tough part of overcoming injuries. Not even losing my career entirely, but just that one. Like, when you're an athlete, and I know you know this, like you work your whole life, right? And I would say majority of college athletes have also sacrificed a lot of their, what that we would consider the high school types of things, the hanging out with friends and the partying and all the stuff. Like I sacrificed all of that to work on my craft, right, and to become a better athlete and to get myself to the next level. So you sacrifice all that. You go through fall camp. You're going through a competition. Like we didn't even find out who was starting until I think the Tuesday before, and it was a
Mm.
Thursday game. So there's not only the anxiety about the game, there's the anxiety about who's going to start. So now I'm dealing with, okay, the anxiety of playing, but also then maybe the anxiety of having to face the fact that I failed in winning the starting position. So then I ride this high of getting to start, right? My family coming up and everybody being there, and then playing absolutely terrible and feeling, nothing short of embarrassed.
Mm.
Because while it was Division Two, like we had just come off a quarterfinal run in the playoffs, so like football was rocking at Missouri Western. It was a big deal, and so to go out in front of all my friends and then just absolutely play terrible, and facing the concussion, and I had a lot of my symptoms from that one were very emotional, and that night I was on the ground in the bathroom in my dorm in the fetal position crying because I felt like everything that I worked for had just absolutely shattered right in front of me.
Dude, can I stop you real quick? Because this is a point that I want the audience to really think about and I want you guys to close your eyes. You got a redshirt freshman, right? Probably 20 years, 19, 20 years old. Learns he wins the starting position, the starting quarterback position. Goes out there, gets his bell rung on you say the first play
It
of the
was in the
game?
first quarter. It wasn't.
First quarter. Okay, first quarter, right? So maybe first or second possession, somewhere around there, right? And he throws three picks, plays bad, and then goes home and is sitting there in a shower in the fetal position crying or the bathroom floor or whatever. I want you guys to really think about this because I got emotional when you said that. I felt it in my heart. I felt it like in my whole body because I've been there. And what a lot, and I forget about this too because I'm a rabid LSU fan, and when that secondary gets fucking torched, like I scream at the TV. But that's just the fan in me, and I got to remember that there's a human being behind that. And thank you for sharing that because what people don't understand is when they get on the internet and they're shit talking all these 19 and 20-year-olds, they're human beings. It's someone else's son.
Yeah.
And it has an emotional reaction. It hurts them. It hurts them.
Yep.
So anyway, I didn't
Well,
mean I just wanted to make
no,
that point. It's like
it's important. In even speaking to the parents out there, it was a Thursday game. My parents, blue collar, they had to go back to work. They had to drive the 4 hours back home to St.
mhm,
Louis, to go to work the next day. And just in the little bit of text and phone call communication that they had with me, they drove back up in the middle of the next day because they didn't feel that I was safe to be by myself, which at
oh
the
shit.
time I wasn't. So not only think about it from the athlete's perspective, but also the stress that it puts on, to your point, like that person's son or daughter, right? Like I don't think people really take that into account. Like they lose, and this is social media, YouTube, TV, whatever it is. Like we become so desensitized to the fact that, like, yeah, you're seeing a very very small snippet of that individual, and you don't see what it takes to play at that level. And so then when they do play bad and they make a mistake or they throw an interception or they drop a ball or whatever it is, like all that we think as fans is, oh my gosh, you had one job. It's
Mhm,
like
mhm.
it's so much more than that. And so that was a, it's important that people know that like I'm not the only one, right?
Yeah,
Like I'm far from the only one. And so that's where I think it's important, because while I, kind of not take this too far off, but when people hear about, athletes having troubles off the field, they're like, oh my gosh, they had everything going from them. How could they ever do that? It's like you couldn't even begin to understand
yeah,
like the stress that somebody's under and what lengths they will go to alleviate that stress so that they can continue to perform on the field, right? And I was fortunate enough that I didn't have any really of those issues, but it's just take that into context whenever you're thinking
yeah.
about those athletes. But to carry on from there, I sat out week 2, obviously went through concussion protocol, was able to play again in week 3, played fine, played in week 4. That game was actually on national television, and then in the first quarter of that game, on a touchdown pass, I got hit again, got another concussion. They sat me out. They basically gave me two options. They said, you're done, or you can sit out for 365 days and we will assess you along that. And if you pass and pass all of your tests and do all that stuff, then you can come back next year. And so obviously, I took the latter option. I'm like, well, I'm at least going to give myself a chance.
Oh, hell yeah.
So was fortunate enough to then come back in week 4 of the following year, played well. Then because the starter at that time was injured, so I got kind of my shot again to play in week 4. Starter came back, played a little bit in week 5, injured again. So I played in week 6, and then on the first play of week 7, I handed the ball off and was carrying out my fake, and somebody hit me like I wasn't carrying out the fake, and got my last concussion. And again, don't advise this. Tried to play through it, played terribly again, and then like I knew at that point that it was over.
Yeah, of course.
And a little bit of an extra detail story is that was the first game of my life that my parents were never at because my sister was playing in the state championship softball game. So
Wow.
that was an additional layer that who is now my now wife, she was my girlfriend at the time. She's now trying to help me through this whole process. And, I think we had been dating for maybe not even a year at that point. And take kind of the story that I told you about after the first time and 10x that
Oh,
and
yeah,
put it
dude.
over a week because I was also put on bed rest for a week. So not only was I, obviously injured, but now I have a week that I'm required to sit in a room on a bed and think about how everything that I've worked my entire life for is now gone. And to take that a step further, not it wasn't just the career, it was the identity.
Boom. There
You
it is.
know,
There it
because
is.
if you would have asked me up until I was 20, 21 years old, like who is TJ LaFaver, right?
Football player,
I'm a quarterback.
quarterback, QB1.
Quarterback one, QB1, full ride scholarship, Division
Yeah,
two,
that's
like
it.
the
Yeah.
thing, right? I couldn't say that anymore.
Mhm.
So not only did I lose football in a way because I didn't have the support of people like you along the way, I had allowed my identity to become so entrenched in this little leather ball in a 100-yard field that as soon as that was gone, I had no idea who I was.
Hmm.
And when you think about that, like what do you do? Like, what do I go do? Like, why? Because I will tell you, to be completely honest, Sean, like, I don't know if that, now I think my mother would have made me, but I don't know without football if I had even would have went to college, right? So now I'm even questioning, why am I even here in St. Joseph, Missouri? Why am I doing
Mm-hmm.
this? What am I going to do next? I had all these plans. I played with guys that are now playing in the league. So that was a realistic possibility. Guys to my right and left are going to the next level. Like, that's what I'm going to do. And
Mm-hmm.
ever since a little kid, and I'm sure you're the same way, like, you're thinking about the cars and the houses and the life of a professional athlete. And that's how you're going to achieve your success, right? And you're going to make your parents proud, and you're going to make your family proud, and you're going to make your hometown proud, and all of these things, and all that in one freaking
Gone.
snap, gone, done. Now I still have this desire to become someone that impacts people and is known, right? And that has since changed a great deal as to the purpose behind that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, it was a very, very challenging thing that honestly I don't think that it probably took me a solid 3 or 4 years to where I could say that I effectively actually worked through that and understood who I was, and not to flip right to the advice side of things, but I would challenge any current athlete, former athlete, to really make sure, and with outside help, make sure you know who you are outside of your sport. And professionally, you got to know who you are outside of a job. You got to know who you are outside of being a dad, a mom, like a teacher, whatever it is. Like, you have to know who you are. Not, you can't be defined by something outside of yourself. Otherwise, you are a ticking time bomb, because something's going to happen outside of your control that is going to alter that. Maybe not take it away entirely, but it's going to alter it. And the only way you're going to be able to carry through and you'll continue on is if you can stand on your own 2 feet without whatever that specific thing was.
Dude, I'm just listening and just like taking all of this in. And it's so funny because your your thought process and how you're talking about getting through the identity factor, dude, you're spot on me. Like, I remember when the last out was recorded in the 2003 College World Series and we lost to South Carolina in a slugfest 11-10, and we two and barbecued, man. We were one of the top seeds in the country.
Right.
We were LSU. We get beat by Cal State Fullerton, set 8-2. They just kicked our ass. And then we lost to South Carolina 11-10. And I'm looking around like, oh shit, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm never putting on a uniform ever again to actually play competitively. And I'm like, I don't know who I am. Like, who am I? Like, I don't know who I am. And I struggled with this. I struggled with mental health while I was playing baseball at LSU. I just never materialized to who I thought I was going to be after my injury. After my injury happened, all of a sudden I'm damaged goods. The coach coming in, Skip Burtman recruited me. Skip Burtman was a legendary coach there, right? He's the one that won 5 natties in 10 years. Like, he was like, the baseball, it's like what Saban is
Ah,
to,
you said it.
fucking hate you. But where do you win his first national championship?
LSU. Where does he want his most?
I gotta gonna hear you. No, I'm making a point. Damn it. But no, dude, highly respect Saban, obviously, in the program. I just it tears me up. But like, Skip Burtman was that guy in
Did the
baseball,
stamp of
and
approval.
yeah, it just he was the guy, and it was it was interesting to me once I got hurt. It was just like the coach coming in was like, "All right, you got to leave." I'm like, "What did I do wrong? I got hurt. Like, I'm rehabbing. Like, I'm getting better. Like, I had surgery. Like, I'm gonna come back." So if you're not ready by fall, you're done. You're cut. So I rushed it back, and then I got in my own head, and that's when all the mental illness started, like the victim mentality, the scarcity mentality, the searching, like overactively searching for external approval from everybody else, right? It was like my high. If I would complain just so my teammate could say, like, no, you're okay, dude.
Yep.
You're a stud. You wouldn't be here if you weren't, right? You're at LSU. It's not like you're, injured and battling for a spot at Cal State Northridge. You're at the best baseball school in the United States of America. Like, yeah, I know, but like all of this stuff started happening. And I can remember, at one point I quit. At one point I quit. I ended up going back. I won't bore you or the audience with the details, but I will tell you this. We were sitting there, fall ball, and I had bullpens to catch because I was a catcher.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting there catching a bullpen, right? Full gear, mask on, crying hysterically because I was so unhappy. I didn't even want to be in my own skin anymore. I never thought of harming myself. I never thought of anything like that. But like, I don't know at that point, I would have cared if anything would have happened to me out of my control because I knew I wouldn't do anything intentionally to hurt myself. But I'm like,
Something happens.
well, you know what? I'm gonna go to the bar. I'm gonna get home. I ain't gonna walk. You do all these stupid things. You get in the car, you drink, you're making dumb decisions. So Joe Public doesn't realize when these athletes are at the club and they make a stupid decision, you don't understand what's going on in their head. Like, I know what you're going to say. Oh, poor them. They're getting to play the sport they love and they're fucking celebrities. You don't know shit if you say that because these dudes and these gals are under the most amount of pressure you can possibly think of. And then you hear, and this is what drives me crazy because I do a lot of collab posts with with my buddy John Hobbs. He's got a really cool sports page and we kind of, marry our styles and we get really good responses. But then you see people like, oh, being an athlete ain't tough. Try being a dad with kids and hold down a career. Like, okay, hi, I'm married. I have 3 children. I have a 9 to 5 career. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a podcast. I coach athletes. Honestly, like I've gone through some struggles as an adult and there's times like 2023 has been probably the hardest year in this house, right? Everybody's fine, we're all happy, we still got everything, but it's been the hardest year financially for us, right? And then I look back, I'm like, this is miserable, but I can tell you what, there was more pressure then than I feel right now.
Right. Yeah, and I think that kind of speaking to just because you said something that I really wanted to expand upon of this whole need to compete with struggles, right?
Hmm.
Like, because even that individual, Joe Public, right, who's making that statement, well,
Hmm.
why are you making that statement? Well, you're
Yeah.
making that statement to validate yourself because you still aren't confident in who you are. So it
Yeah.
makes you feel better to minimize somebody else's struggle because okay, your struggle is now apparently bigger than theirs. So then that somehow is some way that you are more virtuous than them, that you have a harder life than them. Even though, like, this is what I tell people all the time: struggle is relative,
Hmm.
right?
Fuck yeah, dude.
Struggle is 1,000% relative because the level of struggle that you have is how far away you go from whatever your baseline is. So if your
Hmm.
baseline is different than mine, okay, what looks like, a minor struggle to me, right, for you could be the biggest struggle you've ever faced in your life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, man.
the ego, man, the
Oh, fuck
ego.
the ego, man.
See, but here, the not to completely and totally combat you on that,
Mhm.
right? Ego is not inherently bad, right? Because there takes a little bit of ego for either of us to even get on here and
Oh, of
talk.
course. There's healthy ego, bro. There's healthy
Right,
ego.
right, and that's where this is where I think to get to the root of this, right? Any of those struggles that an athlete has with their identity, any struggles a regular person has with their identity, right? It's all rooted in ego, right? And
Mhm.
people won't even attack their ego because they think it's inherently bad, so they just want to claim they don't have one. It's like,
Mhm.
no, we've all got one.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
You just have
Hell
to
yeah.
understand how to control the ego, right? And use it to your advantage when it's a good thing, and be able to alter your perspective and change and lower it when it's not a good thing, right? And like so that's where I would say like that if the like Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday is an absolutely incredible book.
Mhm.
But that's really what opened my eyes to that of like, and just like anything in life, there's good and there's bad. Right?
Yep.
And so that's where like that's when your ego becomes a problem, and it's just a sense of self-importance.
Mm.
And there are times when you need to have a sense of self-importance, like me getting on this podcast with you. Like I have to remind myself, like, no, I got good things I need to share so that I can be confident and deliver.
I wouldn't have asked you to come on if I didn't think
Right. And the
that.
same thing for you.
Yeah.
Like, because then if I don't have that, then how many people are not going to get help? Right.
Mhm.
But then on the flip side, when I go home, right, if my wife has put something in an area where I don't want it, and I want to get all upset about that. It's like, well, how is she supposed to read my mind to know exactly where I wanted that thing to be put? Well, that's my
Yeah.
ego. That's my sense of
Yeah.
self-importance. That's creating something that validates me that I'm so somehow right. Like, and so that it's so interesting. And that's why I wish more people would talk about ego, but both sides of it. So
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
really the only point that I was trying to make with that is
Yeah,
like,
it's a good point. I think everybody thinks of ego as there's this negative stigma to it, right? I think there has to be a healthy level of it, and but it's just one of those things. To your point, with someone like that, they're just trying to validate themselves, and it's like I said like, hey man, like I hear you, dude. Those are tough, man. Um, but if you look, this his page and my page, this is a sports page.
mhm,
Like that's what we talk about here. You can move on if you want, right? I want to say, the fuck off my feed, dude. Like you're not. That's the bad ego, right? That's the fuck off my feed, bro. Like I always welcome good. It's funny. I had a conversation back and forth with a woman in the comments the other day, and she was attacking me about me not knowing shit about NIL. So whoa, hang on a second. Whoa, 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 whoa. And I calmed her down. I was like, listen, and I said, I agree with you about the Jimbo Fisher thing. I think it's pretty sad that there's some athletes that aren't the celebrity athletes at these schools that are not getting their share, right? They're busted and they're still looking for food. What but Texas A&M can pay Jimbo Fisher $76 million to go away.
right,
Something's broken there. I'm sorry. That's broken.
100%.
And so she goes, you have zero knowledge about what you're talking about. I said, hold on, I actually agree with you. And if this were a phone conversation, I think you'd find that we're on the same page. I said, but hey, funny, I went to your profile and I'm seeing you spell go, Gauax. I go, I played baseball at LSU. Are you from Louisiana? She follows me, sends me DM, and we're going back and forth. Like, she's best friends with Skip Bertman's daughter. Like, so now me and this lady, you could always find a way to find common ground, and that's what we don't do in society anymore. And we can get off in the weeds about that. I really don't want
Right.
to.
Yeah, we could
What I
talk a long
really,
time about that.
yeah, we won't go there. Andy might hear it and pop in and go ape shit. But here's what's funny, like not funny, but what I really want to dive into, because we're talking about a lot of these obstacles and a lot of these big failures. But what's important for everybody to understand here, and that's what this show is about, that's what perseverance is about, is these biggest obstacles and these biggest failures are moments where you're getting strengthened so you can be something special, so you can fulfill your purpose and be somebody else's roadmap to heal or to be successful. How did those moments prepare you for the stage you're on now and being a husband and a one of the directors at First Form? Because there's a lot of responsibility that goes there, and you have to influence you. I'm sorry, you get to influence a lot of individuals in their health journey.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it goes back to the first, like it's the old adage of, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And
Yep.
I can't effectively communicate to you that I care about you if I can't relate to you in some
Hmm.
capacity, right? And again, I will kind of going back to that time of my life. I wouldn't say that this is something that I fully understood then, right? But in order for me, like I said, 3 or 4 years down the road, to be able to make peace with that, I had to ask myself the simple question of like, why did that happen to me? And I can only tell a positive story. Like,
Mm.
because a lot of people will say, well, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
But they go negative. It's like, no, no, no. Ask yourself, why did this happen to you? But you're only allowed to tell a positive story about it. Right. And so when I started going through that, I was like, okay, well, the primary positive is it made me actually figure out who I am and why I do what I do, right? And it made sure that that was actually rooted in something that was impactful in a positive way for, I believe, society, right? Because for me personally, like, yes, an athlete and their role in our society is very important, okay, because they inspire people to get into sports, which I
Mhm.
think are the number one most fundamental thing for personal development for any young kid, especially
1 billion%.
especially team sports, especially team
Hmm.
sports, because you're going to have to learn how to work with people that you don't get along with and you don't like and you're not like, right? You're going to have to learn how to do that in the professional world, right? No matter what you do, right? This whole like I can do this on my own thing is not. If you have,
Dude.
you can create a great product. People got to buy it though, which means they got to
Mhm.
like you, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we could go down that whole rabbit hole. But what I really learned from that is that I had to figure out who I was, right? But secondarily to that, like it taught me that even when you feel like you have absolutely nothing, you still have one more step. You still have
Mm.
one more day. You still have the opportunity to do something. Even when you feel like you have absolutely nothing and absolutely zero, there's always a way to move forward. And that's where I think, where I sit now, again, back to the struggle is relative thing. Like I may not think that whatever problem that person is facing or adversity they're going through as to why they can't stick to their fitness journey or why they can't be successful in their business or whatever it might be, like I may not think it's that big. It doesn't matter. What I can connect with them on is, hey, while I've not been in the exact same situation you've been in, I have felt the exact same way that you feel. Okay. And here's what I did about it, and here's how it helped me. And
Mm.
so I will actually say, like, that what I thought was going to be what crumbled my life actually propelled me forward. And so if you're somebody who's sitting there right now and you're in one of those situations, right? Understand that that will be, if you choose it to be, the biggest positive turning point in your life possible. Because I believe that the platform that I have now, because of what we teach and how we teach it and how we go about doing it, I honestly think my impact on society is a hundredfold what it could have ever been as an athlete, right? Because I'm not teaching somebody just how to lose 20 pounds in 8 weeks.
Mhm.
Like I'm teaching you how to improve your health for the long term, your mindset, your relationships, your confidence, your everything about you, right? And one of the things I love that Jordan Peterson talks about is that you're two people away from impacting a billion people,
Mm.
because the average person knows 1,000 people in their life, right? And if you impact two people by the transit property, the way that multiplies out, it's a billion people, right? And albeit maybe that difference is small, like that's the obligation that we all have to improve the world that we live in, is to take whatever struggles it is that we've had to power through them and then share that with everybody else, because that's how collectively we can all move forward. And I feel like if I wouldn't have had that struggle, if I would have played really well for 4 years, had the opportunity to go to the NFL and do that whole thing, like what struggle would I realistically have had to
Mhm.
go through that somebody else can actually connect to, right? Because as long as they were athletic struggles, back to something you brought up earlier, it's, oh, you're getting to play sports, it's got to be so hard. It's like, no, like I've been through it, and I actually
Yeah.
went through it just like anybody else, because I didn't have sports to lean on anymore. Right. I had to go
Yeah.
knock on doors to get the job that I wanted. And then I had to go, work on a farm, for nothing, right? Just to get by. Like I've had to go through all of that stuff. Right. I've had to face the mental health crises multiple times. Like the first time I was in therapy, I was 8 or 9, right? And I've went 4 different bouts through therapy. Like I've been through that.
Yeah.
So whatever you're struggling, so like that's where I think, without having to go through that and actually make it through it, what value do you really have to provide to other, because struggle is always going to exist, right? Life is inherently hard. Like there's like life is going to be hard more often than it is easy.
Mhm.
And so when you have experience on making it through that, well, then that gives you the opportunity to help more people. And I just think that more people need to look at the struggles that they face and the failures that they go through and the adversity that they face as a gift, because I truly believe that that is God giving you the opportunity to grow if you choose it to be. Because-
I agree, man. It's funny because when we're in those moments and you're in the despair, whether it's financial or you're not in the shape that you want to be in, because if you're, 20 pounds overweight, you're feeling it, right? You don't feel great. And then some people can't control what they put in their mouth sometimes, man. It's just because it's a release. It's their self-sabotage. It's how they cope with things. And while you may not be able to understand it, you, you know, you felt that way in another area of your life. But here's what I truly feel like. when it gets dark and it hurts and there's pain, you know, I used to run away from it. Like when I stopped playing and I was done, I sabotaged friendships, relationships. I did not care if you had a boyfriend. It did not matter to me. I was searching to fill my void. I was making the decision so I could feel better in my flesh, right? And the one thing that I understand, it just made me a weaker individual.
Mhm.
I lost friendships, and I don't like that person I was in my mid to late 20s. I can't stand that version of Sean French. But I will say I'm grateful for him because had I not made all those decisions and poor decisions, had I not gone through all the struggles at LSU, had I not failed at so many things, I'm a really good baseball coach, but my teams weren't winning. I always had young teams. I was like taking, you know, mediocre talent and try to build them up. And it never seemed to be the result I wanted. But then I look at it, my show wouldn't be as good as it is. I wouldn't be the father I am. I wouldn't be the husband I am. I wouldn't be the friend I am. I wouldn't be the professional. I wouldn't be the performance coach I am. So all these types of things that happen in my life have built me up to this moment. And the things that I'm going through now are building me up to that next level of Sean French. Yes, I speak in third person sometimes on my
That's all
show,
right. It's your
not in real life.
show.
But like whatever's going on now is going to make me better in 2-3 years.
And
Like bring it.
the one thing that I always love talking about this with people, whether it be in their fitness, whether it be in their business, their personal life, their relationships, whatever it is. If you remove the ability to fail, you remove the ability to win.
Mm,
Because if you can't fail, then where's the win? Because there's got to be a yin and yang. There's got to be both sides of the
yeah,
coin. If there's no ability to fail, then there's nothing to win because everybody's going to get the same result, so it's not a win, right? And so if you're never putting yourself in, and granted, because some of these happen outside of our control,
sure.
but this is the one of the main things that I want to talk about too is you've got to put yourself in a position willingly where you can fail.
Oh, dude, every day,
Even
man.
in, again, that's the purpose of going to the gym, right?
Yeah.
That's the purpose of for me, right? Like at this point, like I'm not really concerned with getting much bigger, much leaner. Like I'm pretty
Mhm.
comfortable where I'm at physically, but it's I want to push myself so that when I do inevitably face the things that I can't control, I've already proven it to myself on a daily basis that even in the face of failure, I can figure out how to win.
Dude, it's a big thing, man. And we got to land the plane soon.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
have
you're
another
good.
call in 7 minutes. It sucks, man. We might have to do a part two, bro.
Hey, I'm down.
All right, we're calling it, guys. We are gonna do a part
Call the
two.
shot.
I will release this though
Good.
before the part two. We'll just name it part one. So if you feel like this conversation's leaving you hanging, good, because there's gonna be another part. So like, but that's the thing, man. Like, that very point right there, it's lost on so many people. I want people to understand, though, more than anything, that whatever they're facing in their life right now, whether they think it's the darkest moment or, there's no way out, there is. There is. And you will get out of it if you choose to. You got to work hard. You got to lean on people. You can't do it alone. You got to, and I don't want to be insensitive to people out there that are having, true mental health issues. What I'm saying is, you're not alone. People love you. And, you know, it's never going to be great. It's not always going to be great, but we got to fight through things because we have a purpose to the world. And for me, it's about this is being a human being is a what is it called, a service driven industry.
Yeah.
It's like if you're not out there serving, then that's when you start to struggle, right? Because every door that I knock on every single day, every time I hop on camera, I have a chance to fail. Like there's a chance that people will listen to this and not love it.
Right.
I highly doubt it. I highly fucking doubt it. I haven't gotten much. I didn't like that show, like ever. Right. I mean, I can tell you, I hated my shows at the very beginning, but, dude, like you have to embrace the possibility that you're going to fail. And so I always hate this question that people ask me. "What would you do if you could take failure off the table?" I go, "Where's the fun in that?" I don't. Why are you taking failure off the table? Like,
Be-
failure is information.
Bingo.
It's fucking information.
Data.
Take the information, chew it up, swallow it, and digest that shit. Because if you think for 1 second that that failure is going to determine that you suck, then you don't understand how life works.
And I will also add this to it. As somebody who has been fortunate enough to accomplish some fairly decent things in the short span of my life, as I am still very young, right? Every time I've achieved a next level, right? That's I don't talk about the thing that I achieved. I talked
Mhm.
about what I had to get through to get there, right?
Yep.
Like I know it's so cliche, but like it's important. Like cliches are cliches because they're true, right? And the
Yeah.
whole thing, it's not
Exactly.
about the destination; it's about the journey, and that is 1,000% accurate.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
without the failure and without having to battle, like if you didn't have to truly earn something, there can't be any pride associated to it,
No, zero. And if you take failure off the table, what's it matter?
right?
You knew you're going to win.
And my thing is like, okay, why are you even trying to achieve things? It's because in most situations, in some capacity, you are trying to progress past the average individual in whatever area that is. Okay.
Yep.
If you take failure off the table, everybody will compete and everybody will
Everybody.
quote unquote win. So
Yeah.
it's not special anyway.
Yeah.
So you're not going to even have the pride that you think you're going to have from this, theoretical win that you're going to have because it doesn't exist because you took failure off the table. Like,
We're getting very philosophical, y'all, in this episode. I didn't see it coming. I like it though. I love it. I love it. Dude, I mean, listen, we all have big dreams, right? And you need to for me, I like to have these telescopic goals that are fucking moonshots, right? Like they're way out there. And then the microscopic goals are the everyday things that I have to do. I look through the microscope and I have to do in order to get there. Granted, I am so much better at doing that for my show and my brand. You know, I need to get better at being back on my fitness like that. But I do believe there's seasons, man. I do believe there's seasons. And right now I'm in a season where, dude, if I'm in survival mode, I'm doing the things that I need to do. I'm working out 3 days a week. I'll get back to the 5 days a week. I'll get back there. But for right now, I need to be okay. Let's just do what we need to do to fucking power through what's going on in your life right now and prepare yourself for the next version of Sean because that's what it's all about. That's what life's about. And I always like to say this, dude. And like, I always like to say this before we land the plane, man. It's just like when you feel like you're withering away and like there's nothing left in you, make it feel symbolic, right? Like I always like, okay, ooh, this is the moment. A version of me is dying right now. And the new version is coming. And that version's more powerful. So let's lean into the pain. Let's lean into the suffering. Cry if you have to. I lost crying driving down the road the other day.
I'm with you.
Fuck yeah, I don't give a shit. I'll fucking cry. I'm an ugly fucking crier. I'm at the
I'm
fucking
a
stoplight,
stalker. I'm a
and the people are looking at me like, "Wow, you see snot too?"
Oh
Everything.
yeah,
Ah, yeah.
absolutely.
Oh god, like a bull mastiff. I could see it. I could see it. But yeah, man. So I just, all that to say is, lean into the pain and the suffering. You don't. There's a lot of people out there that like to kind of push it to the side. Lean into it because you're not doing yourself, you're not doing your family any favors by ignoring it. So, but guys, if you love this episode, please share it out. Don't worry, there is going to be a part two. TJ and I will get with each other and get it scheduled and we'll get it out there. But dude, I just want to extend a you know, major gratitude for you. Thank you for coming on and having this amazing conversation with me and my guests
Yeah,
or my
likewise.
my audience.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
likewise. Seriously, I really appreciate it because, like I told you when we were texting, like, and even what we talked about today, the opportunities like this, even if it just positively impacts one person, is what makes my everything that I went through worth it, right? And so, without this opportunity, I don't get that, and so I just want to say thank you, and likewise, to everybody. Hey, if this was valuable, my man Sean is doing something great here. Okay, so make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, do all the things
Do all this stuff,
because it's
man.
worth it. Like seriously, like it's important that you also hear from multiple people. Like, don't get stuck on one person. Like, hear as many
Yeah.
perspectives as you can from as many people as you can, because there's a lot of smart people out there that are they're providing great things, and Sean is right up there with them.
See why I love this guy? So great. He's playing into my ego, man. I love you, man. Thank you. And I'll be in touch probably tomorrow. Okay.
Sounds like a plan to me. Have a good call. I'll talk to you later.
Hey, appreciate you, buddy. Take care. Well, Southwest Florida is one of the most beautiful places on the planet to live. For those of you that are thinking of moving from other states to come to Florida, or even just moving to a different part of the state, I want you to think of a big, beautiful luxury home. Contact Legacy Luxury Builders. They are a family-owned and operated luxury residential construction company. As a family-owned business, they believe in the power of building not just homes, but legacies. Contact Legacy Luxury Builders. The nightmare of feeling like you'll never measure up, of constant second guessing and self-doubt. It eats away at you and destroys your confidence. I've been there too, feeling like I didn't belong on the field with my teammates, but it doesn't have to stay that way. I used to compare myself to everyone around me. I thought that no matter how hard I worked, I'd never be as good as the other guys. It killed my self-belief. I now help athletes develop an elite mindset so comparison no longer controls them. We teach techniques to cut out the negative self-talk and unlock their full potential. Imagine stepping into the box when it counts the most and feeling totally confident in your ability, feeling invincible instead of insecure, ready to seize the opportunity instead of shrinking from it. That's the mindset I help athletes develop. Don't waste another minute on comparison and self-doubt. Take control of your mindset and become the confident, unstoppable competitor you are meant to be. DM or comment below to get started with Edge and transform